welcome to our Year 8 Parent Information Evening. If you could just make sure your microphones are muted at all times, just so there's no background noise or interruptions, that would be much appreciated. And this is a short session this evening just to kind of update you on what's happening this half term, and most importantly, just to give you some more information about the progress tests, which will start next week. So I'll just let the last few couple of people in, and then I'm just going to go straight into it. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending on time. This evening we're going to cover a couple of things. So we're going to start with the progress test information, as that's most pertinent as they begin next Monday. You've had information about that before the holidays, and documents, and the students have had things and updates and information about these before as well. So I'll just kind of reiterate the key messages about those and how you can support as parents at home. I'm going to go through the effort criteria we use as a school and the assessment and reporting process, because that will follow the progress test progress test cycle. So you're aware of what the assessment looks like and what reports you will receive home and how to kind of decipher that information. Then we're going to have a little recap on CHS Scholar and the Code of Conduct reminders. Students have all had 2 assemblies today. They had a virtual one this morning just with lots of key messages, and then we had an in-person one with the deputy head about Code of Conduct and Scholar reminders. So I'll just reiterate a few key messages from that. Okay, so our progress tests, we are just about to begin our first progress test cycle, and we do the progress test just to assess students on everything that they have covered since they started in September. And we've got 2 learning cycles, so we're about to come to the end of our first learning cycle, and assess students on what they've learned so far. The progress test is a fortnight, so students will sit exams in all of their subjects, and it will start next Monday and finish on Friday the 23rd of January. Now, students obviously have different timetables to each other, so I can't share specific dates, but collectively the subjects in the first column, maths, French, Spanish, geography, EPR, music, dance, technology and computing, are all next week, so in that first week of the progress test. And then English, science, Spanish, French, history, art, drama and PE are in the second week of the progress test. You'll notice Spanish is twice. That's dependent on which class your child is in, because they don't all sit Spanish at the same time. No, you've not missed anything. I only started at 5:30, sorry. Just answer that quick question there that's popped up. So your child will have a bespoke timetable of where they've populated where their progress tests are, depending on which teacher they have and when their class is, as they don't all sit the same subjects at the same time. So it's a bespoke version, and they did that before half term. I'll show you a picture of what it looks like in a minute, but they filled in where they were sitting their progress tests depending on which teacher they had. So they're aware of when they're happening next week, and they will have reminders in class this week as well, to make sure they're prepared. Okay, so students have a document a little bit like this. So it was an A4 piece of paper with week 1 and week 2. Some of the exams are already populated in where they will be sat, and then they've filled in based on their teacher when exactly their exam was. So if you've got any issues with that, if you just send us check with you with the student, if you've got any issues with that and you're unsure when they are or they're unsure, I'll share the email at the end, and you can just get in contact with us to verify that. This was also emailed out to parents in December, and you should have had an email copy of that and a booklet that looks a little bit like this, with a rundown on what our revision strategies are, and the set up for progress tests. You also received a booklet like this. So it went through each of the subjects, what the students need to know, and where they can access resources on that, or what resource they've been given to support with that. So primarily it's their class books. We support students in building them up to be kind of like a revision guide, and their scholar habits like inform the way they organise their class books. They have glossaries, key points, practice exam questions, definitions, practice of model answers, etc. So primarily their exercise book is the best go-to in terms of revision. And then on Teams or the home study site, which I'll share with you in a minute, is a secondary resource with further information to support curriculum knowledge development for all of their subjects. So you can find all this on the school website. So if you go to the Parent tab, and then you can scroll down to the home learning, home study platforms. And when you click on that, you can select the Year 8 tab. Okay, so when you've clicked on it, so the Parent tab, home study, support tab, scroll down to it, and then select the Year 8 version. Because obviously they're all bespoke for all different years, and all the information around progress tests, study planners, knowledge organisers, I forgot to mention before, again, is a really good resource in terms of that has all the knowledge that students need to know for particular units of work. And there's also some information on revision strategies there for each subject. So there's a lot of resources, but it's about ensuring that at this point, with a week to go, that they're either just zoning in on their book, on their class book, or using particularly revision knowledge organisers, maybe to make some revision cards on anything that they're not secure on, so that they can self-test, or you as parents at home can support in the self-testing of that. So that's a really good resource that I would encourage you to have a look at, and also have a look with your children as well. So navigate your way through it together, because it's something that then they can use independently as a support. So the next topic is on assessment and reporting. If there's any questions, I'll take them at the end. So just jot them down if you've got anything in particular, and I will answer them at the end. In terms of assessment and reporting, it's all our focus on our kind of vision is all about how well students have learned the curriculum. We've taken this new approach to how we assess student progress in Key Stage 3. So Key Stage 3 is our years 7, 8 and 9. And when assessing and reporting home to parents, we want to be able to measure how well students have learned our curriculum, so we know that students are secure in their knowledge and that they can be successful for the next stage of their education. So moving on to the second learning cycle of Year 8 and then beyond towards Year 9. We also use it to evaluate their attitude to learning, their approach to learning, and their learning habits, and that's all encompassed in our CHS effort grade. And this is so that they can become confident, independent learners. We know that effort is one of the most important indicators for future success, and so we hope parents can focus on this when discussing effort at home. And when your grades arrive home, this will be towards the end of this term, it will be not only their performance in their progress test, but also their effort in their subject, because sometimes they're complementary and sometimes there can be a little discrepancy between them. So it can be a really important point for a conversation at home in terms of different subjects and effort in different ones and what that looks like. So in terms of our assessment and reporting, there are 5 gradings we use to award to students. So they are emerging, developing, secure, extending, and exceptional. And this is all based on how well they've learned and been successful with the curriculum. So a student working at the emerging level has some knowledge and an emerging understanding of key concepts of the curriculum. And this is all bespoke. There's a bespoke one for each subject that they study. So an emerging student will find that learning is a challenge and that subject content can be quite difficult most of the time. They need to focus on practicing and learning key concepts before they can then move on to the next stage. So kind of getting that grounded basic level of knowledge that they can then move on to the next stage, which is our developing stage. So a student working at this level in developing the knowledge has a developing understanding of key concepts, but they're not yet secure in these. So they might find lessons hard sometimes, but they're able to, but will be able to group many. They're probably not all of the key concepts, but some of them they will be more successful in than others. They might make mistakes, but again, that's part of the learning journey as they try to get the knowledge to be secure, which is the next stage. And this is a progression model as well. So we wouldn't expect students in year 8 to be, right at the end of this. It's progressive, and it's also bespoke to each individual as well. So a secure student would be working at this level, would be secure in their knowledge. They've mastered key concepts, and they will get things right the majority of the time. They might make mistakes. They would learn from these mistakes and not necessarily make them the next time. All students at the secure level should be aiming for the knowledge to be at least secure, as this will mean that they're on target at the end of their Key Stage 3 studies to have a solid foundation of knowledge at the start of their GCSE studies. So we would hope students to be secure by the end of Key Stage 3. So we're midway through Key Stage 3 at the moment. So by the end of year 9, we would hope for students to be aiming towards secure knowledge so that they can be successful at GCSE. Okay. If their courses want them to study this, if they want to study these courses at college, again, we would hope for them to be secure at the end of Key Stage 3 in those subject areas as well. A student who wants to specialise in a certain area should be aiming for their knowledge to be beyond that, and that's where we have the extending criteria. So a student working at the extended level is very secure in their knowledge. They're demonstrating that they've got greater depth. They might read around the topic, they're interested in it, and they can apply and manipulate knowledge in key concepts. Students at this level often find that they are easily able to recall their information. It comes quite naturally to them. They learn new things relatively easy. They're accurate almost all of the time and are able to apply their understanding to new contexts in class. If a student maintains their knowledge at this level, then they should be looking at studying the subject beyond year 11, as they are capable of very high grades indeed. And if a student's level of knowledge is beyond this, then the student's knowledge will be, and our final one is exceptional. Student working at this level is excelling at this level. They are exceptional in this subject area. They display excellent knowledge. They can apply it in different scenarios and interplay the key concepts. They link it together. They've built good schema that demonstrates an academic flair for this subject. Students at this level are incredibly able in a certain discipline and are always quick and accurate. This is a level that will only be reached by 1 to 2% of our student population, and students at this level should be looking at grade 9s in their year 11 studies. I know this is a long way off, but we just wanted to share kind of the bigger picture. We wouldn't be expecting students to be extending and exceptional in year 8. They've not had enough time to kind of study the curriculum. So we'll be focusing on the kind of developing and secure, and some students might still be emerging in certain subject areas where, they necessarily only get an hour a week of that subject. So, you kind of have to think about the holistic overview of this, and that every student progresses at their own rate as well. Okay. So how do we make our judgments? Each subject area at Key Stage 3 has their own specific assessment criteria, which will be shared with students and parents. So a teacher will make a professional judgment from this criteria based on a number of factors. So when you receive your data, your short reports at the end of the spring term, so just before February half term, I think they go out, you'll receive performance on the progress test, so a percentage or a score. And you'll also get that in the summer after the summer progress test cycle. It will contain a mixture of declarative, which is knowing what, so the knowledge that they've acquired, and procedural knowledge, so how to do it, so the skills behind it. You'll receive performance on any unit test, so again, a percentage or a score. Work produced in the lessons, in books, and in any practical activity. So this is how teachers will decide which judgment or grade they will award to students. Work produced as home learning, and their students' ability to talk about the work and talk about the knowledge acquired. So it's not just one factor, it's kind of a holistic overview of a multiple different things in that list. So performance in the progress tests, performance on any unit test, so they're the intermediary, in between, short assessment tasks, work produced in their books, home learning, and then the students' ability to talk about the work as well, because we want students to be confident in articulating knowledge to each other, to the teacher, and then as well to you at home as parents. The reports look a little bit like this. So you'll have a list of subjects, a curriculum statement. So they're one of those 5 statements I've just gone through then, their effort in class and their effort with home learning. Where we see students who are secure, most of the time that kind of complements their effort in class being quite high and their effort with their home learning, because they're all conducive to each other. Where we see students not so confident in particular subject areas, it might be that one of those factors is mitigating that. So maybe effort with home learning or revision, or their effort in class, and that might be hindering their progress in certain subjects. The effort criteria, I'm just sharing that there. So students will receive a grade from 1 to 4, 1 being excellent, 2 being good, 3 being requires improvement, and 4 being poor. When they input the grades, the teachers use this criteria, so it's consistent across the school. We amended this last year, and we made it a little bit harder to meet than it was previously, and that kind of works in collaboration with the learning habits, the scholar habits we've been driving, and the code of conduct as we increase our standards for students as well. We thought that this felt right for students in school. So if you think maybe your child's effort grades have gone down, this might be why. We've just increased the bar for students. So this is being recorded, so you can also have a look at the criteria or take a picture of it there. We would hope students to aim for good at least. So if you can have a read through of the criteria, take a picture of it, or this recording will be on the school website from Thursday. You can see what is actually expected of students. This is shared with the students as well. So sometimes they can be, a bit disheartened if they didn't get a 1, or alternatively why they've received a 3, why they think that there's improvement required. We acknowledge that effort is one of the most important indicators for future success. So again, this can be a really important document when having those conversations at home when the short report arrives. And this is always normally attached to the short reports as well, so that can support those at-home conversations when the data arrives. So the next section, I'm just going to remind you of our scholar habits and how you can support at home. So students are, well versed in our scholar habits. You might have had certificates home, scholar certificates that your children have achieved in certain subject areas. These are to be celebrated. It's a huge achievement, and again, like a visual reminder of their success in certain subject areas. We do that 3 times a year as well, so again it can be a good carrot, a good encouragement for trying particularly hard in a subject that they might find difficult, exploring subjects that they hadn't necessarily liked before at primary school, and it's a good goal for students to work towards achieving a scholar award across their subject curriculum. So our first one is organise. This is all about making sure that they're equipped, that their books are, they're kept like a revision guide would be, presented really well, underlining, contents page, glossaries, sheets stuck in, because we know that a good, well-organised book is conducive to good revision, recap, and it helps support students' cognitive load as well. If you have an exercise book where sheets are falling out and things are all over the place and it's poorly organised, again, it's not going to support revision or recap. Stationery, year 8 are incredible at their equipment, so thank you parents for that as well. And we do equipment checks regularly and uniform. While I'm just mentioning it, I'll come to that in a minute. So at the very least, pen, pencil, ruler, highlighter, and a coloured pen. A glue stick's additional. It's handy to have just so that they can keep organised on top of their books. And encourage your child to revisit the learning in their exercise book, be proud of their books and flick back over them, look at the work they've previously done, and, ask them to share that with you, what they've learned and what they've enjoyed this week. The second habit is about paying attention. When learning is most effective, students need to pay attention. And, we know that as adults as well, when our minds get distracted, we miss things and we need to recap them. So sleep is incredibly important for this. Growing up in a teenage world with multiple access to digital media, social media, Xbox, gaming, TV, everything at the touch of a button, it's difficult for them to necessarily have a good night's sleep. So those kind of healthy sleep habits are really important so that they can attack the day, gives their brain time to process the information from the day at school. And yeah, ask them questions, ask them to share what they've learned this week, and encourage them to do this as much as possible so there's that constant feedback loop between home and school. The next habit is reading. There's lots of educational research out there that those that read more perform better in their GCSEs. It's a non-negotiable. Reading develops their inference skills, their vocabulary, their written work. It supports all subjects across the curriculum as well. So either take them to the local library, encourage them to come to the school library. I've never seen a school library better than the one at Chorlton High School. The librarians are so supportive. They have lots of knowledge about all different types of books. So encourage them to make use of that resource. And regularly reading, like 20 minutes a night. It's a good way to kind of de-stress after the day, to wind down, to avoid screens, blue lights, etc., and build that healthy habit around bedtime as well. Encourage them to share new words that they've learned at school, use them at home as part of your conversations and their everyday vocabulary. And modeling good reading habits as well can be really supportive. Collaborate and communicate. How can parents support with this one? So give your child opportunities to talk through any issues they've had at school and offload them to, remove that weight on their shoulders, things that they've found hard, things that they've enjoyed and they've been successful at, and things that have interested them. It's, really good for them to have that open conversation at home and have a constant communication point between home and school. Next one, home study habits. So sit down and discuss what homework they've got with them, help them to not, wait till the last minute so it all comes just at once, kind of alleviate issues like that, bottlenecks at the end of the week, and just doing that little and often, rewarding them that, it's quite successful. It feels good to get things off your to-do list. Ensure they've got somewhere quiet where they can complete their homework or an allocated time slot, that just encourages them to get it done and get it out of the way. And then the literacy legend scholar habit, again, is all about actively promoting reading through their exercise book, planning their writing. So if they've got a piece of English, history, geography homework, a lot of the time it's an extended essay or an extended piece of writing, encouraging them to use a plan beforehand and not just diving straight in. It makes the final task much easier if they've planned, done a knowledge dump, collected their information from various sources, and makes the final task much more easier for them to attempt, and they can feel more successful in it as well. So finally, our code of conduct. So students were reminded about this today. It's hard after a 2-week break just to kind of get back into the rules of school, but it's really simple. It's our be ready, be respectful, be safe mantra. It's based on mutual respect and kindness, and with such a large community in school, it's really important that parents and carers can mirror our messages at home. We expect the highest standards of organisation, preparedness, safety and respect. So our be ready mantra is all about taking pride in who we are, what we do and how we do it. Our respectful mantra is all about that everyone belongs. We're a community of belonging. We treat everyone in our school with respect. And safe is all about being a calm, safe, positive environment where we feel like we belong and we enjoy coming to school. Lastly, our conduct mantras. So we are a no phone school. So students are aware of the away mantra, which is all about mobile phones. So they're off and away. At the gate, they need to put them off in their bag, wait until leaving school to turn them on. Any phones seen in school are confiscated, and only take your mobile out if you're directed by a member of staff. Sometimes students are insistent that they need to phone home. They can do that at student services if they need to get in contact with you. And likewise, would appreciate if you want to get in contact with your student, you don't text them during the school day, to minimise distractions of them getting their phones out. It's so difficult for them. So building those healthy habits around mobile phones, and also at home about like before they go to bed, and their time on them in the evening, limiting that and having a bit of an overview on that would really support them too. The next one is all about calm corridors. So this is about movement around school. So it's safe for all. We've got students who use wheelchairs. We've got a huge school with a number of lesson changeovers as well. We want the corridors to be calm when students are in lessons, and safe for all. So this is all about movement, taking the calmest way possible, aware of classrooms and other people learning. So it's quiet voices on corridors. Keeping on the left side, please, really enforces, nice movement around the school, orderly fashion, and moving swiftly and facing forward, so that they move from one lesson to another the fastest way possible. The next one is best. So this is all about uniform. And I must say, Year 8 uniform is impeccable. So thank you so much, parents, for driving that and maintaining such high standards at home. They wear the blazers most of the time, in lessons, around school, and just encouraging them to arrive to school with it on. So sometimes they need reminders at the front gate to put them on. They should arrive at school with their blazer on, not in their bag. Their equipment should always be ready. They're fully equipped for the day. Their shirt should be tucked in, and their tie needs to be pushed right to the top and 7 stripes long. So not like a small, like tight tie, small wide tie at the top. It needs to be pushed to the top button, an appropriate length, and we say 7 stripes. No jewelry, so only a simple pair of stud earrings can be worn. Black footwear. If it's cold and students want to wear socks, so socks over their tights, they must be black, all black. And no other piercings, so just a simple pair of studs. That's the only jewelry that can be worn. And then finally, we know that the parent relationship between school and home is really important. So if you have any issues or anything you want to bring to our attention, you can email us at any time. So I'll just pop my email in the chat if you have anything that you need to let us know about. And I'll just stay on if anyone's got any questions, but that's everything for this evening. Thank you so much for your time, and have a lovely evening. Thanks so much.
Hello, welcome to this presentation on assessment at Key Stage 3 at Chorlton High School. This presentation is aimed at both students and parents and will help you understand the way that we assess and report in years 7, 8 and 9. My name is Mr. Dawson. I am one of the deputy head teachers here at CHS, and part of my role is working to improve the curriculum and the assessment of the curriculum. At Key Stage 3, we are changing the way that we do things. These changes are mainly to do with how we assess and what we report home to parents. We have replaced our old system, which was based on reporting progress of students. We believe our new system is much better as it focuses on judging how well a student knows the curriculum in each subject. We are looking in detail at how the student is performing in key concepts in each subject, and more on this later. So to start us off, we have a question. What exactly is a curriculum? So a curriculum is made up of all the knowledge, skills and experiences that students will learn and be able to do across each of their subjects. At Chorlton High School, this is represented as a 5-year learning journey across each subject. Our aim is for students to become knowledge rich and move from novice to expert in each subject. In other words, it is everything that is taught and hopefully learned in each classroom at Chorlton High School. So what knowledge is in the curriculum? Knowledge is what students need to be able to be successful in their academic studies, and knowledge in the curriculum can be broken down into 2 main types. These are called declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge. Declarative knowledge is the what. It is the facts, the concepts or the rules. Procedural knowledge is the how. It produces some kind of action. It is following the steps of a process. Procedural knowledge can also be conditional, meaning it relies on knowledge that has come before. Another way to think of things is that declarative knowledge is key ideas and procedural knowledge is using, applying and critiquing them. So what we are going to do is to ask students' teachers about the knowledge that the students have gained in all of their subjects and ask them the question, how well have you learned the curriculum? How well have the students learned the curriculum? Therefore, this will be a judgment of how much knowledge, both declarative and procedural, students have gained over time. To do this, we are going to assign one of the 5 words you see here to each student in each subject. These words are emerging, developing, secure, extending, and exceptional. The words and what they mean will be slightly different in each subject as the knowledge and skills needed for each subject differ. I'll now go into more detail on what each of the words mean in general terms. The first word to look at is emerging. A student working at this level has some knowledge and an emerging understanding of key concepts in the curriculum. An emerging student will find that learning is a challenge and that the subject content is difficult most of the time. They need to focus on practicing and learning key concepts so they can move to the next stage, which is developing. A student working at this level is developing their knowledge as outlined in the curriculum. They are developing the understanding of the key concepts, however, they're not yet secure in these. A student here will find lessons hard sometimes, but will be able to grasp many, but probably not all of the key concepts. They will make mistakes, but this is all part of the learning journey as they try to get their knowledge to be secure. And a student working at this level is secure in their knowledge. They have mastered key concepts and would get things right the majority of the time. All students should be aiming for their knowledge to be at least secure, as this will mean they are on target in their Key Stage 3 studies to have a solid foundation of knowledge at the start of their GCSE studies in Year 10. If their knowledge remains secure in Years 10 and Year 11, they will be looking at gaining Grade 5s and access to many of the courses that they want to study at college. A student who would like to specialise in a certain area should be aiming for their knowledge to be more than secure and extending. So a student working at this level is very secure in their knowledge. They are demonstrating that they have a greater depth of understanding and can apply and manipulate knowledge in key concepts. Students at this level often find that they are easily able to recall their knowledge and they learn things relatively easily, especially new things. They are accurate almost all of the time and are often reaching the extension activities in class. If a student maintains their knowledge at this level, they should be looking at studying the subject perhaps beyond Year 11, as they are capable of very high grades indeed. If a student's level is even beyond this level, the student's knowledge will be deemed as exceptional. And a student working at this level is excelling in a level that is exceptional. They display excellent knowledge, application, and the interplay of the key concepts that together demonstrate an academic flair for the subject. Students at this level are incredibly able in a certain discipline and are always quick and always accurate. This is a level that will only be reached by 1 to 2% of our student population, and students at this level should be looking at targeting grade 9s, which is the highest grade in their Year 11 studies. So what happens over time? As students move through Key Stage 3, the curriculum will also change as it gets broader and more challenging, and our aim is for all students to be at least secure in their knowledge in all subjects. Our teachers work really hard to deliver lessons that enable students to have this knowledge, and they also work tirelessly to support students who have emerging or developing knowledge. Students who reach extending will be those who put in the extra work often outside the classroom in their home learning and home study, as we know that hard work and focused revision often pays off. So how do we make our judgments? Each subject area in every year group will have their own criteria for the 5 words that we are using to assess the student's knowledge. These will be sent home with any reports to parents, and I'll give you an example in a moment. Teachers will use a variety of evidence to judge where a student's knowledge is up to. They will use a number of factors that are listed here, and one of our large pieces of evidence of a student's performance are our progress tests that take place in the spring 1 half term and the summer 2 half terms. However, we understand that there's more to a student's knowledge than just replicating it on a test, and we take a balanced view of test performance together with the student's ability to communicate their ideas and thoughts through work produced in class and at home, or question answers and conversations had with students in class. Students will get their Key Stage 3 report in the Spring 2 and Summer 2 half terms, and they will look similar to the example shown here. We have a new system for reporting, and this is not yet set up, so we are aiming to send something that looks roughly like what you can see here. There are 3 main parts to reading the table. The first is to look at the curriculum statement for each subject, and the other 2 pieces of information are the effort grades, one for effort in class and the other for effort at home. I will revisit this table later, but I want to spend a little while giving you an example of how to look at the curriculum statements and how to use the effort grades effectively. And of course, there will be more subjects than just these few that I am showing here. So here's an example of what you may get from each subject. This information, as I said earlier, will be sent home with the reports and will also be available to view on the school website. This is Year 7 and it is food and nutrition, food technology. In red here, this is what has been taught over the course of Year 7 in food. It's broken down into knowledge and skills. Below, you'll see a number of statements that detail what the knowledge judgments look like. I've highlighted this secure knowledge in a yellow box to show what it means to be secure in food in Year 7. What you will see when you look at these sentences is that the more independent the student is, the further right their judgment will be. Class teachers will also help the students understand how to move their knowledge from developing to secure or from secure to extending. They will revisit knowledge toolkits used in most lessons. They will refer to personalised learning checklists that are used in many areas after progress tests to identify a student's individual strengths or areas to concentrate on, and they may direct some specific areas for home learning. Accompanying the curriculum statements, as I mentioned earlier, would be effort, and here is our effort grid. This details what we deem to be the skills and traits demonstrated by our students that will enable them to be CHS scholars. This grid again is on our website, in the assessment and reporting area, so you can look at it in more detail then should you wish. Effort grades go from 4, which is poor effort, to 3, which is where effort requires improvement, to 2, which we deem as good effort, to 1, which is excellent effort. The top 8 rows are to do with effort in the classroom, and the bottom 3 rows that are shaded slightly darker are to do for effort in home learning. These effort descriptors are a group of learning and organisational behaviours that will lead to students being a success. And many of these behaviours are things that our students do on a daily basis and have been doing for many, many years. Excellent effort in the blue column is attainable for the majority of students in all they do. For example, they need to arrive promptly and fully equipped to every lesson. They need to show the right focus in lessons by sitting up straight, tracking the teacher, asking and answering questions, and showing respect to others. Student books should be exceptional, with new vocabulary written down and defined, and work presented so that the book can almost be used as a revision aid. Excellent effort by a student is also demonstrating listening skills, working collaboratively as a team, and responding well to feedback. Excellent effort in home learning is similar, but applying these same skills to work completed at home, and of course handing work in on time. The reason that I talk in detail about effort is that it's something that we are working on all the time in school. Form tutors and the year teams regularly revisit aspects of effort, and we'll go into great detail in one area at once, helping the student to understand just what is expected of them in all lessons. Teachers also reinforce the learning behaviours so they become habits, and the students will do them without thinking. And in my opinion, they are the most important part of the report because there are clear things that we can do in order to help students improve. So let's go back to the example report that I showed earlier. This student has clearly done well in most subjects and has a talent for drama with the effort grades on the curriculum statement of extending. But the student hasn't done so well in science or maths. Could this be that effort in class is not as good as it could be? The student here can put the effort into other subjects, so what's going on? I would certainly have a conversation with the child. Firstly, I would talk about the effort and get the students to think about what they are trying in their subjects that they're doing well in, and are they applying the same effort, the same behaviours, the same habits to their maths and science? Or perhaps maybe the student hasn't grasped some of the concepts in maths and science. So it would be worth to look back at the curricula in these subjects and look at the breakdown of what's been taught and whether the student has grasped it. This will also be supported by the class teacher. So the reports here help guide the support for the student learning. Some students may see these curriculum statements in their effort and be able to work independently on improvement in a few of their areas. Some students may require some support from parents, from teachers or form tutors. All of this is absolutely okay. It's part of the learning process to get the students at Key Stage 3 ready for further subject studies at Key Stage 4. If you would like to know more, please visit the assessment and reporting section of the school website, where all this information will eventually be stored. At the moment, it's under construction, but there'll be much more information on there early to mid-January. That's all from me for the time being. Can I thank you for your time listening to this presentation and, of course, for your continuing support of all of our students. Goodbye.